Hello and welcome to episode 21 of your Leader Breeder podcast with myself and your host, Aiden Jeffrey. The Leader Breeder podcast is a leadership podcast dedicated to helping you discover and develop your leadership voice in your life, career, ministry, and business. And may this be your greatest year yet. Happy New Year, 2024. A great and prosperous year ahead for you as well, to your family, to your loved ones. May this be your greatest year yet. I want to say to you, as we had a phenomenal 2023, a year of supernatural acceleration, and maybe you didn't see everything that you expected to happen, but I want to say to you right now that God's timing is always on time. It's not always in our time, but God is always on time. And as you prepare for this new year, the year that lies ahead, a year of overflow, start with your expectations being high. Start with believing God that our theme for this year, Ephesians 3:20, now to Him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we might ask or think. And I pray that over you as well as we launch out into this new year, our year of overflow. Now to God, to our Lord Jesus Christ, now to Him who is able. God is still able in this time. He's not slumbering, He's not sleeping, He's not on vacation, He's not in recession, He's not in depression. God is on the throne and He is ready to partner with your life. So as you set out for this year that lies ahead, may this be your greatest year yet. So I want to talk to us as we set out on this new year. You may be driving, listening to this. You may be watching this on YouTube. Remember, go and subscribe to our social media platforms, the Leader Breeder, Instagram, Facebook, and then obviously YouTube. And share these episodes with your friends. If they mean something to you or they bless your life, they are free. Simply here to help leaders. We have a shortage of leaders in positions of authority, in positions in ministry, in business. And I want to activate in the next generation, next batch of leaders to be raised up and to rise up. So come on, let's get straight into today's episode 21. 7 steps leaders take to set goals for a powerful new year. 7 steps leaders take to set goals for a powerful new year. Did you know that whenever you look at your life, as you look at the year that's passed, sometimes we set goals at the beginning of this year. The world calls them New Year's resolutions, and by February, they've resolved not to continue with those resolutions. But businesses, organizations, people's lives fail for 2 predominant reasons. Number 1, they have no vision. They don't know where they are going. And number 2, they have no strategy or systems. Now, if you know me by now, and you've listened to some of the episodes in the last last 2 years, or since we've been doing the podcast, you'll know that I'm very outspoken on having a vision, setting goals, and also I'm very outspoken on systems. There is a great course on the Leader Breeder World platform you can go and watch and subscribe to for free. It's called Systems Bring Success, because without systems, you're not going to be able to achieve the goals and the vision that you have in place. Dr. Martin Luther King said, there is nothing more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And I want to say to you, it is our obligation to remove the ignorance and the lack of information and knowledge in our lives where we are struggling. I coined a phrase a few years ago called read where you bleed. And I'm very outspoken on that, and I want to encourage you as well. What are the areas of your life in 2023, 2022? If you look at last year and we move into this year, the new year, 2024, what are some of the areas of your life where you've been hemorrhaging? Is it in finances, fitness, your health, your faith? Did you lose a bit of ground when it came to your walk with God last year? Your family, relationships, many areas of our lives that we can struggle in life and not really understand why things are happening in our life. But I want to say to you as well is that as we go into this new year right now, we are responsible, we are obligated to make sure that we work at the areas of our lives, our relationships, our families, our marriages, our friendships, our relationships at work, our fitness, our health. You've got this temple that we are responsible for towards what we put into our mouths, what we eat. I know, not always easy. We've come out of Christmas. Sometimes we're going to set these goals, going to lose weight. The fitness industry makes a lot of money now in January and February because they start to get everybody to lose that Christmas weight. And don't be hard on yourself. Last year when we launched out in 2023, I spoke to us about, achieving your goals through daily standards. And so what we're talking about in this episode as we launch out into 2024, a year of overflow, 7 steps that leaders take that is going to set them up for a powerful new year, a powerful year ahead. And the very first thing that I want to say, first step that I want to look at is clearly define your goal. Number 1, clearly define your goal. So what is it you want to achieve this year? What is it you want to sort of set out and achieve this year? Is it going to be your career, your business, your finances, your health, like I said, your fitness, your relationships? What are some of the areas? But if you don't clearly define it, we have to write those visions down. We have to make sure we are aware of them. In the dispensation of technology, we're now able to make notes on our phones and put reminders onto our phones. That reminds me, while I'm speaking now, is that there's if you haven't downloaded the Prosper Clock app, go to iOS Store and to Google Play Store and go and download the app Prosper Clock. It's an app I developed last year, and where you can it's a clock app, it's an alarm app, but you can also record into it. You can speak your goals into it, and you can set an alarm, and at certain times of the day or in the morning it goes off, and you hear yourself. You are the ringtone on your alarm, and it's a little bit of a reminder app that I built in order for us to be able to keep ourselves accountable to ourselves, because the only person that you're competing against is yourself, to become a better version of yourself in every aspect of your life. So, like I said earlier, if you haven't achieved what you wanted to last year, now we're forgetting which is behind. We're not ignoring what is behind. We're forgetting. We're not going to look back and rehearse last year and think, why should it, could have. It's past. But now we want to set these goals. So, number 1, clearly define your goal. So make sure that you write it down. What are the areas? And I want to say to you, take those 5 areas that I always speak about. faith, family, finance, fitness. These are the areas we can have a look at our future. What are some of the areas you can, I just like to put them in sort of 5 this or 3 this. It helps me. I think like that. But set out those goals. So clearly define your goal. What is the goal you have for your money this year, for your career, for your education, your ministry, your life? What do I want to achieve that by then? All right. So let's clearly define that. So number 1, clearly define your goal. Number 2, set out your strategy. Now, I'm gonna hammer these 2 sort of points mainly because these are the 2 main points that I realize as well. What is the strategy, the systems? What do you need to do? How are you going to achieve that goal? Because having a goal is okay, it's the starting point and it's vital. But then we have to set out a strategy. Sometimes people go, well, I want to set out a goal for this year and I want to achieve great things this year. But we don't actually take the time to put systems in place and set out a strategy. If you look around your life, everybody that's achieving great things in their life, they didn't just fall out the sky. It took a lot of time, planning, thought in these areas as well. So how are you going to achieve your goal? What vehicle are you going to use in order to achieve that goal? Speaking to somebody recently about their finances a while back in end of last year, and they were telling me that they were really taking some shots. They were being hammered a bit in their finances. And this person earns a very good salary. And the first thing the person said to me was, I need to earn more money. And my answer back to the person immediately was, no, if you're earning a decent salary, sometimes we don't need to earn more money. We have to just spend less money. And these are the kind of things I'm talking about. Clearly defining your goal. Get out of debt. It's called the GOOD policy, GOOD, get out of debt. If that is one of your goals for this year, then what is the strategy? I have to get a book. I have to find a financial advisor. I'm going to attend a seminar. What is it? I need to put certain action plans in place, but that could be the strategy. I'm going to keep track of my spending. I'm going to put a budget in place. I'm going to, cancel this, or I'm going to, whatever it is. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I'm saying once we clearly define the goal, I want to lose weight. Okay, so that's just the general goal. That clearly, I want to lose weight. Well, what is it? I want to lose 10 kilograms. Different. I took our dog to the vet, Zeus, my pit bull, and we had to neuter him last year a while back because he had identified cancer in one part of his body, and so they had to neuter him. And he's picked up a bit of weight, and so when we went to the vet for his injections end of last year, the vet said he has to lose a few kilograms. And now, guess what? Clearly defining the goal for Zeus, the pit bull. So we immediately had to set out the strategy, change the food, get advice on what's causing the weight gain, exercise more, etc., etc. So it's a simple example, but we can't just say, I want to lose weight. And like most people, January is the month. I want to lose weight and I'm going to join the gym. Then they get the policy or the Virgin Active contract and then never to go to the gym in February, March, April, because we haven't clearly defined the goal, number one. And number two is we have to set out the strategy. So what is the strategy? And you might not have a full answer to the strategy, but on the journey of committing to the goal, we're going to now work towards that goal and setting out that strategy, putting systems in place and making sure that we can start to see chip away with those daily standards. Remember last year I spoke to us a little bit about setting daily standards, and there's this debate between goal setting and, do people really achieve their goals? And I'm a firm believer that goals are critical and vital, but a goal can be intimidating. 10 kilograms. It's intimidating when you start out because you go, I get on the scale and I've lost 400 grams, or the scale stayed the same, or that's so far to 10 kilograms. But if you start to look at just daily standards, I'm going to eat so many calories less today. I'm going to cut out my food intake by, let's say, 150 calories a day. I'm going to drink, a liter extra of water a day, whatever it might take to achieve that goal. And when we start to chip away and just make the extra liter of water the daily standard, when you look again 2-3 months from now, you've achieved the goal. So don't allow the goal to intimidate you. Let's break that down. The strategy is we're going to break that down into bite-sized chunks, and we're going to set daily standards. Like I'm going to go to gym every morning. I'm going to have an accountability partner to help me wake up in the morning, because I'm going to get lazy if I don't have an accountability partner. All part of the strategy. So clearly define the goal, number one. Number two, set out your strategy. What is going to be the way in which you're going to get out of debt? What is going to be the way in which you're going to, sort of get your health in place or your relationships intact? Or perhaps it's your marriage. Our marriage is under strain. We're drifting apart, husband and wife. Well, clearly define the goal. I want to get my marriage back. I want a healthy marriage with my spouse. All right, strategy. We're going to attend a marriage seminar. We're going to read some relationship books this year. We're going to subscribe to some relationship podcasts. Whatever it might be, your strategy is key to achieving that goal, and that's the daily standard. We're going to, have no phone times when we get home at night for certain times. We're going to have no phone zones. We're going to be on more date nights, etc., etc., etc. I don't want to dictate what you need to do, but let's clearly define the goal, set out the strategy. Number three is plan out the problems. So what are the problems we might be facing? Now, again, I say to you, as we set out for this year, I'll put these five these keys. I'll put them on some artwork, and you can just to remind you of them. But to plan out the problems, this is what I find is where most people, go wrong. We're busy preparing for a new facility. The Lord has opened up amazingly in Cape Town, and I saw supernatural acceleration towards the end of 2023. Within a matter of 2 weeks, the Lord opened up this new facility for us, and we're in the process of, finalizing that and moving in very shortly into a 5,000 square meter, 3,000-seater facility. And I want to say as well that, I saw God come through towards the end of last year. Now, it's all good and well to go, yay, the Lord's come through for us on the first, base of the home run, but there's 3 other bases before we get to home run. So number 3 is what? Plan out the problems. Now, don't think that, when the Lord opens up a door for you, that it's just going to be moonshine and roses. A lot of things are going to, obstacles. Not that God's changed his mind or it's not God's will, but there's going to be obstacles. We have to plan out those problems, those challenges. So we have to take time. Now, I've spoken to us the whole of last year as well, and I'm still busy with the Exponential Leader podcast between the Leader Breeder podcasts. Every Tuesday, we're looking at that. And I want to encourage you to go and take a listen to the whole Exponential Leader process or the series, because it speaks about the fact that we need to digitize our world. So when it comes to planning out our problems, I find that in days gone by, you've got diaries, and yes, you can write in your diary if you might be a diary person, and that's good for you. But what about, using technology as well? Now, we use a system called Monday.com at the church, and I want to encourage you to look at an interface that could assist you in that area. So Monday.com is an interface that removes all of the sort of individual storing of information. So most staff have spreadsheets and Excel documents and emails, and it's all scattered all over the place. And what Monday.com does, I'm not promoting Monday.com, I'm not earning any commission, or I don't tell you to click on the link for a 10% discount. I'm not getting any commission from this. I'm purely just trying to encourage you to plan out your problems getting your systems in place by using technology. So we use Monday.com, and what I found what helps a lot is that you can set reminders. You can activate notifications on your phone, push notifications. You can pull people in your world, and they're all in the same place. So, for example, now with the building, we've got a board called new building, and then we can create groups in that board. So, for example, you might say, let's say, as a businessman, you want to set out your goal, and you want to set out your strategy, and you want to plan out your problems. When you start to use an interface like Monday, in our case, you can include all the staff, all the key role players in certain of those groups, and it keeps everybody in the loop. And the minute you type into that little discussion bar, it notifies everybody in that group or on that board with regards to any information that you've mentioned. And it's not hidden on someone's computer. It's not hidden on in someone's file somewhere stored away. It's in a public domain in your private world, but it's publicly available to all those that are in that group. And what I found is that it's a great way in which to speed up the process, that cracks in the sort of the armory that don't all fall through the cracks, because Money.com technology is helping us now to become a lot more streamlined when it comes to planning out the problems. Somebody goes onto that discussion point, I've forgotten about it, but they're now thinking about it, and they ask a question on it, bam, immediately I'm notified, and that notification comes to me, and I'm thinking about it, I answer them back, and I found that we solve a lot more problems like that by using technology now to plan out our problems, and it keeps everybody in the loop a lot more effectively. So I want to encourage you as well to look at a few things that could help you. Go and listen to the Exponential Leader. I want to encourage you. Listen to the Exponential Leader podcast series, because I really am adamant and outspoken, and I see it more and more and more. I see the effects that digitization is having on the world we live in right now, and it's a positive. You don't have to fear technology. You don't have to worry about, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to no. All you have to do is what we are obligated to eradicate the ignorance in our lives. Remember what Martin Luther King said? There's nothing like sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. So I say this to us: stay a learner, because leaders are readers, readers are learners, and learners are earners. And if you can understand that concept of seek, knock, and ask, said Jesus, when we on the seek, on the knock, and on the ask, we start to grow, we receive, and doors open up for us. So overflow is not just going to happen because it's a statement Pastor Art made for the movement, or it's something that I desire. Sure, God gives us the desires of our heart, but our role that we play in that is to clearly set out our goal, clearly define our goal. Then we have to set out our strategy. What's the vehicle we're going to use to get that? And then we have to plan out the problems. Don't be afraid of the problems. We don't always like to hear negative feedback or criticism at times as humans in general. But I want to say to you, don't be afraid to plan out the problems. Because sometimes what seems like a major problem to you now, because you're in it, when somebody looks at it from a different perspective, or they look at it from an outside perspective, it's minor, and they go, oh, that's easy to solve. I've seen that in my own life when I've encountered challenges, and I thought, wow, this is the end of the road, it's the end of the world, it's in my brain, whatever I was facing at the time, it seemed like a mountain. And then I speak to somebody about it, and I ask them advice, and the guy says, no, that's quite simple, just do this and this. And the solution was right there, but because we can sometimes avoid our problems, or push it under the rug, or just, hope that tomorrow it's going to just disappear. No, it doesn't. it's not going to disappear. In actual fact, it's going to fester and get worse and worse until we don't deal with that problem. So I want to say to you, plan that out. Don't be afraid to seek, knock, and ask. It's part of the maturing process. It's part of the leadership development process you're going to have to go through. Because, like I said, every single challenge in life is solvable. Everything that's out there, financial, health, anything you're going through, there's advice. You can seek it, you can knock it, you can ask it. And if it's not solvable or it's detrimental, then we're going to go home to be with the Lord. And that's great because we win as well in that side. But while we're breathing air, while we're alive, we are going to take responsibility and plan out our problems. So what are some of the obstacles you might face in achieving these goals? Your business, your finances. Maybe you ended off last year, you've got staff issues, or you've got, there's constant CCMA or HR challenges. Well, it speaks of, it's a problem. And we have to plan that out. And not always, do it yourself, but don't ignore it. Maybe appoint somebody on staff to look at it, to investigate it, but at least you can deal with it. And that's what I want to say to you. I want to encourage you. Don't run away from the problems. Plan them out, because it's in the planning that new thoughts, new ideas, new perspectives come. I didn't see it from this angle. Wow, that's amazing. That's interesting. So I want to encourage you as well. Plan out your problems and don't avoid them. And then number 4 is you want to build in reserves. Sometimes we all want to do great things in life, but we sometimes can, be sometimes impulsive, or we can be sort of, out there trying to achieve our goals, but we haven't really taken into account the cost. And Jesus said, before you build a building, count the cost. Now, there is faith, and that's what we need. And God is not. It's impossible to without faith. It's impossible to please God. Hebrews 11 verse 6. But we also have to ask ourselves the question. What if the thing delays by 2-3 months? Do I have the reserves in order to carry me for those 2-3 months? For example, we had a look at in COVID period, and I don't want to bring that up again. But we faced, obviously the world and everybody faced major crises and different crises in different ways. And I really just had to go through a sort of restructuring of things in my own world with the church, and, just with regards to finances, and you weren't sure what the next 6 months were going to hold because of the fact that, COVID hit us so unexpectedly. And then I read a book in COVID called Profit First. And I want to say to you, if you're a businessman listening to this, or even an individual, get a copy of that book. Again, I'm not earning anything off it. I don't get commission off it. But it really challenged my thinking. And the author spoke about taking your profit first and then, putting the rest in place, and very simple ways in which, you can realign your financial setup. And so I read it, and I went to the financial team and I said, listen, I want us to look at this and put this in place. And so we went and we implemented the Profit First system into our world. And it was amazing. In the next sort of 18 months after that, initially, challenges, tweaks, but initially we were able to see things from a totally different perspective, just because I got new information regarding a place that I was concerned about. And in the next 18 months that followed, we built up the most reserves we had built up in years, simply because we changed just the way in which we were just, dealing with money. Now, I say this because money is one of the things people battle with the most. And it's not because it's money's the least, but if you understand the need to build in reserves, then when you start to set out the goals, they're not always that daunting, because you have you've planned out some of the challenges, you've built in reserves, and you're able to carry that for a month or 2 or 3 until that goal starts to, give you return on the investment, or it starts to move. So I want to say to you as well is, don't just, blindly go into something. Build in reserves, and so that you could, if it delays, I can last for 3 more months or 6 months or a year, depending how many reserves you're going to build in there. And so the number 5 is set a time limit. Now, again, like I said, I want to lose weight, 10 kilograms by June this year. Or I want to do this by December this year, or by January, or by February. What setting a time limit does is it helps us, to hold ourselves accountable, and it's a measurable destination. If you do achieve it or don't achieve it, it's irrelevant, because achieving it is the bonus. Not achieving it, we can now sit back and say, what caused me not to achieve that goal? So the timeline, the deadline is what tells me that, I was either too little faith or too much presumption, or I was, it was too big a goal I set initially, et cetera, et cetera. You can work it out. But set a time limit. I want to get out of debt by what's practical. The financial advisor says 2 years. Okay, well, it's 2 years or a year, 18 months. I want to lose 5 kilograms. By when? Well, by June this year. Okay, so then we go back, set out the strategy. Well, to lose 5 kilos, what must I do? So much exercise, so many calories, et cetera, et cetera. That's how we're going to achieve that goal. So set a time limit. It's critical that you understand the setting of the time limit, because the time limit setting is going to hold us accountable to that deadline. And then we set those reminders. We get that Prosper Clock app, or we get that accountability partner, and we get that financial advisor, we get that spiritual leader that's going to guide us, and we hold ourselves accountable to that. Initially, it's not nice, but listen, leaders are different from followers. Leaders take responsibility. Leaders swear to their own hurt in different areas. That followers sometimes can use excuses, but leaders take responsibility. And I want to say to you, don't be afraid to set that time limit and watch what God is going to do this year. And number 6, create the master plan. Again, I say to you, technology helps us today in order to, write these things down, get places where everybody can see what we want to achieve as an organization. We want to create that master plan. We want to write that strategy down. We want to make it plain for everybody to see, that they may run with it. And we want to have clear-cut documentation of that. And again, I want to say to you, I use money.com, the interface, and I find that, it helps us to as a staff group, or as a core group of people, to assist each other, because my blind spot somebody else can see, and their blind spot I can see. And so we create that master plan on technology, in my case, which I encourage people to. If you're still a pen and paper person, sure, it's good, but only you have access to that pen and paper right now. And you might have to take a photograph and then forward it, and sometimes it gets lost in translation, or lost in our own world. And I want to say to you as well is that, when you create that master plan, it's not a major 40-page document or a this or that. Just keep it simple. I always say keep it simple. Just don't overcomplicate things. Paul writes to the church in Galatians, and he says, who's bewitched you from the simplicity of the gospel? And I want to say to you as well is, don't allow yourself to overcomplicate things. Keep it simple. Goal setting in itself is sometimes daunting, but if we just set those daily standards. So my strategy is a liter of water extra a day, 2 slices of bread less, 1 hour of sleep extra. That's the 3 things I'm going to start doing on a daily basis. And if I do those 3 things consistently, well, I'm going to track my spending. I'm going to take every document I get, and I'm going to jot it down for 30 days or 60 days. There's the daily standard. And when we start to do that, we start to see great things, change in our lives. And then finally, number 7 is action. Do it now. If we don't put action to our goals, a dream without action or a goal without action is just a dream. And I want to say to you as well, do something about it. Nothing big starts big. Everything big starts small. But I want to say to you as well is that if you'll just do the small things on a consistent basis, the big things will take care of themselves. There's an old saying that says, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer always is, well, 1 bite at a time. So initially the elephant in the room is X. It's large. It's intimidating. It's impossible. And that's why Jesus said with man, it will be impossible. So sometimes what we think is impossible, with God, it is possible. But it's Him who gives us the strength to do things on a consistent daily basis in order for us to achieve that goal. So what is the year going to look like this year? I tell you right now, it's going to be a great year, an exceptional year. And these 7 keys that you start to implement in your life, the 7 steps that leaders take to set goals for a powerful year, are going to transform the way in which you are going to see this year. And I want to say to you, if you're not a goal setter, then start to set those goals maybe for the first time. Share this link with somebody and tell them, come on, let's put these 7 things in place. Now, after listening to this podcast or watching this video, the first thing you have to do is I'm going to put these 7 keys in the link below in the YouTube channel and on the artwork in Instagram and all the different places. But one of the first things you have to go and do is what? Is plan out your problems, is set out your strategy. Get a pen and paper. I often write things on pen and paper, and then I convert it to, I bring it over to digitalization so everybody can see it that needs to see it. And we write things down, drawings, push, pull. With the new building now, the architect sent us a drawing and a layout, and then I sat for hours just pushing. If I put this wall there and I move this here, plan out the problems, think of the flows, think. Very often we don't spend enough time thinking. As a man thinketh in his heart, so easy. God gives us the desires of our heart. Our heart is the thinking place. Our mind and our heart combined is what we see, the vision. And I want to say to you, think. Don't worry, but think. Rockefeller, Napoleon Hill, I read a book a few years ago about him, and he said that what a lot of these successful guys would do, and I don't do that per se, but he said what they would do is 2 things, and maybe you can look at that. He said firstly they used to have a sort of a power team or a support team. Like every Friday they'd get together and they just share their ideas, and they would have that sort of a group of guys that were like-minded that would get together and strategize and push and pull. But one of the things he said that they do a lot is they sit in a quiet room. He said, I'm not sure if it was Carnegie or if it was Rockefeller or who it was, or Charles Schwab or one of these guys in the early 1900s. But he said he would have a room, and it'll be a dark room, for example, lights off, curtains, blah, blah, blah. And he said he would just sit in a chair, in a straight-up chair, and he would just spend an hour just thinking. And whatever thoughts came to his mind in that time, he would then write them down. And those thoughts sometimes are life-changing. And I've seen it myself. We spend more time worrying. And Jesus said, why do you worry about your tomorrow? And we spend too little time thinking. As a man thinketh in his heart, so easy. And I want to say to you as well, as we set out for this year, start to spend some quality time thinking. Put the phone off, put the TV off, put the social media off, and think. Sharon will sometimes come to me as well, and she says to me, like, what are you smiling at? Or what are you thinking about? Because she can see I sit down, I'm thinking about this, but I'm actually planning something in my head. I'm taking a drawing that the architect sent, and I'm pushing and pulling, or I'm seeing something. I'm seeing if we put this here, it can go there. The church on a Sunday, this, that, the altar calls, the think. And when you think, it's amazing what new, fresh ideas come to your mind. Think about things, and we spend far too little time thinking and too much time worrying. And Jesus said, like I said, why do you worry about your tomorrow? But through prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God. And then think. God gave you a mind. We have the mind of Christ. Think things through. Think things out. Plan out the problems. If you hit an obstacle in the road, don't just quit on it. Plan it out. Think it through. How to buy a house. How to get out of debt. How to, think it through. Think. And in the process of thought, very often the Holy Spirit pops a person, pops an unction, and you phone or you follow that unction, and most times I find that it's amazing how just complex things become simple because we just took some time to think. So again, I want to say to you, number 1, clearly define your goal. Number 2, set out your strategy. Number 3, plan out your problems. Number 4, build in reserves. Number 5, set a time limit. Number 6, create that master plan. And number 7, put some action to it. Do it now. After this podcast, take some time out. Buy out the time. Redeem the time. In other words, it means, if you redeem a voucher, you get a voucher and it's not valid until you actually redeem it. In other words, you give it to the cashier and you say, I've got a 20% discount. Then you redeem that voucher. Now, the Bible says redeem the time. You could have given an hour to this, or 2 hours to gym, or 3 hours to a television program. Take that time, redeem it, and give it to the Lord. Give it to yourself and write things down. Buy out the time. Even if it means you take a day's leave away from the family and go to a quiet place and just spend some time thinking. Spend some time planning. Plan out that problem. So clearly define the goal. What is it? I know that when the Holy Spirit puts an unction in your heart, it's not always the devil, but sometimes it's the lack of thought, it's the lack of planning, it's the lack of time, redeeming the time to actually think that thing out. Starting a business, it's a desire of mine, okay? So what are going to be the obstacles? Think it out, plan it out. You don't have to know all the answers, but the things you know now, write those things down. And I guarantee you, I've never seen, anybody plan something out and ask a question of somebody that person didn't know somebody else that keeps that process going. And so really, I want to speak life over you today, and I want to say to you that Overflow 2024 is not just a statement. It is the heartbeat of God. It's the desire of God. Now to Him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we might ask or think. There it is. We're going to ask and we're going to think. So we're going to think this year. But God says, whenever you think, I'm going to take that and I'm going to overflow that thought with kingdom thoughts, heavenly thoughts, and I'm going to give you wisdom beyond your years. You're going to see incredible things. You're going to see things that are going to supernaturally astound your mind. Not because we deserve it, because God is in us and He's with us and He's for us. And we are children of God. We have the right to enjoy the inheritance and the benefits of our Father because we are sons and daughters of God. And you have a right, child of God. You have a right, child of God, to walk in every kingdom promise and blessing that is available to you. So I want to speak life over you today. I want to say to you, may this be your greatest year yet. May you see everything that your heart's desire come to pass. That's God's will for your life. And may you never doubt yourself. May you not label yourself. May you not devalue yourself. You don't need somebody else to value. You are valuable, extremely valuable. You are bought with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. There is no price a person can put to the blood of Christ, and you are bought with that blood. That means you are extremely valuable. Believe in yourself. Lift your head. Write that vision down. Create that strategy. Plan out those problems. Build in those reserves. Set that time limit. Create that master plan and watch. Put some action to it and watch what God is going to do. I want to just say to you as well, may this be a great month to you. May this be a great year to you. And I can't wait to be with you for the rest of this year in our Leader Breed episodes. And I want to say to you as well, spend time thinking and spend time investing in yourself this year. Read a book. Watch the podcast. Get involved. Enroll in a seminar. Invest in yourself. Don't ignore your problems. Plan them out. And watch what God is going to do. Have an amazing, amazing, amazing month. An amazing, amazing year. And I look forward to everything that God is going to be doing into your life. Have an amazing, amazing month. I'll see you next month. In Jesus' name, amen.